Alright, so in this video we're going to talk about the periodic table. So if you remember, the periodic table is basically just this system that we use to organize the elements. Alright, so there's three types of elements. If you remember, we have metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. Alright, so in the periodic table we have all three of these different types of elements. So the difference between these, we have metals. These are solid generally, shiny generally, and good conductors of heat and electricity. Alright, so those are the kind of important properties that you want to know about metals. Metalloids, they're kind of in between metals and nonmetals, so they have some properties of each. So they're kind of solid sometimes, they're kind of conductors, they're kind of shiny, and nonmetals, they are kind of generally the opposite of metals. So they're going to be poor conductors for the most part. Some of them are solids, but a lot of them are not. We have a lot of nonmetals that are gases, and they generally don't have a shiny luster to them. Alright, so the three types of elements that you'll see: metals, nonmetals, and then the in-between metalloids, which have some properties of each. Okay, so in the periodic table, you need to know where each of these are. So if you want to draw yourself just a quick sketch of the periodic table here, the metals make up most of the table. So all this green stuff here, that's all metals. So if you notice, the majority of the table here is green. That means that the majority of the elements on the periodic table are metals. So the nonmetals and the metalloids make up a much smaller portion of the periodic table than the metals do. So the metalloids only along the staircase here. Alright, so if you remember, we have that bold staircase along the periodic table here that separates the metals from the nonmetals. And that's where the metalloids are, is there are the elements that are along that staircase. And the nonmetals here are over to the right side of that staircase, and these are again the elements that are either solids that are not metallic, they're not good conductors, or maybe they're gases, like we have the noble gases over here, right? So the metals, nonmetals, and metalloids, you need to be able to identify where on the periodic table you'll find each of these. Okay, so the two ways that we organize elements are into groups and periods. Alright, so the first way is in groups. These are vertical. Alright, so the groups are the vertical columns. These are also called families in the periodic table. Alright, so remember, we said elements in the same group behave similarly. This is where we saw all of these group 1 elements here that are explosive, right? So we watched that video where all of these group 1 elements behave similarly, because if you react them with water, they all give off this vigorous reaction, and some of them even explode. Alright, so elements that are in the same group behave similarly, meaning that they react the same way when they're put under the same conditions. Alright, so you need to know, in the periodic table, these vertical columns are called groups or families. And then if we look horizontally at the organization of the table, these are called periods. So periods go sideways or horizontally, and vertical columns going up and down are the groups or families. So the periods here, they are arranged by the atomic number. Okay, so as we go across a period here, the atomic number goes up. And the elements in the same period don't always behave similarly because they have different chemical properties. They have different numbers of electrons, so they're not going to behave similarly, but they are going to increase in atomic number as you go across the table. Alright, so that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.